Welcome to another edition of ACRP TV. Today our spotlight is on advances in clinical trials technology. We've got a great guest with us today, Jackie Kent, who's the Executive Vice President and Head of Product at Medidata, and she has great extensive experience, and she's a longtime friend of ACRP and Jim Cremidas, and her reputation precedes her. Jackie, I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Mike. I look forward to it.
Now let's talk about, we're going to keep it kind of open-ended, but I don't like the term pick your brain, but I'm going to do that a little bit and ask you to talk a little bit about what you're seeing in terms of, this is, there's that old expression, may you live in interesting times, and this is the end of June 2020. These are interesting times by any definition, euphemistically or not. What are you seeing out there in terms of, let's talk maybe first about what you're seeing in terms of advances in clinical trial technology. Are we at kind of a tipping point to accept things like decentralized clinical trials or risk-based monitoring, those kind of things?
Yeah, I really believe we are. We've been trying to get out of what I would call the perpetual pilot for some time now. If you think about decentralized pilots, central monitoring, remote monitoring, and some key technologies that really will help advance the speed of our clinical trials, getting more medicines to patients, we were always risk adverse to really embedding some of these key technologies into our everyday thinking about a clinical trial. Well, we have had no option with COVID. So due to the fact that we've had no other options, we either treat patients with these technologies and we allow them to stay in the clinical trial, or we have to have them drop out. So we don't want to do that. We want to ensure every patient remains in a clinical trial. We actually can continue to enroll, and we provide a very safe environment for them. So let's use telemedicine. Let's use decentralized trials, reducing patient burden, central monitoring, central oversight of our very important data. These things will now stick. We have seen that it's not that scary. We have seen our patients remain in our trials with safe and quality care. So now we have the ability to make this part of how we do a clinical trial every day.
So we're hearing a lot about this so-called COVID catalyst that has set this in motion, right? And it's speeding development and adoption of a lot of these things. I guess my short question for you, this is a little simplistic, but do you think this is going to take, will it stick? Say I'm envisioning a world a year from now, a happier place where COVID has been eradicated or minimized, or we have a great vaccine and it's under control and it's not impacting clinical trial operations very much, if at all. Do you think we're going to take a lot of these lessons and technologies to heart, or are we going to go back to revert to type a little?
I don't think we'll ever go back. If we go back, we will slow down development. If you think about the fact that many clinical trials did not get to proceed, or new clinical trials come on the market during the first 6 months of the year, that means our pharma partners have molecules they're waiting to develop. Again, medicines for patients with unmet needs. I don't believe anyone will want to go back, slow down the possibility of getting those medicines to their patients. They're going to want to decentralize their trials, embed an RBQM type of methodology fully in their portfolio, and look for the next thing. Now we can then go on to how do we use synthetic controls to actually emulate and facilitate less patients being enrolled. There's so many other technologies that are sitting at our fingertips that we can then move on to after we do more of the things that we have today.
Before I let you go, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about, I know you're active in the Diversity in Clinical Trials Working Group, and that's obviously such an important issue. And I guess I want to ask you, and I want to draw inspiration, do you feel a sense of optimism that we're, as an industry, going to improve on this in the coming years? It's been a tough obstacle in the clinical trial world to get this right, or to get this better.
I speak on diversity in clinical trials quite a bit. And the thing that we need to do is we need to actually make the improvement. We need to move from talking about the issue to actually making the improvement. There are data that are available to many of us that we can share to help us find the underserved populations that need to be part of all of our clinical trials. And what we have to do is make the commitment as an industry to continue to move the needle further and further and further, instead of just acknowledging it's an issue. We have not moved it far enough. Everybody is committed to the problem, but we need to actually focus on it and deliver to these patients.
I guess to bring this conversation full circle, can these new technologies help us improve diversity in clinical trials?
Absolutely. There are data, like I said, there are data sources that are available publicly and privately that you can purchase. You might have them within your own company, but the commitment is in the design and the ability to enroll the patients. A decentralized trial is another way to help these patients get into a trial because maybe they're not close enough to an existing site. So maybe we can take the trial to the patient. We have all types of tools available to us if we just go out and find these patients.
Absolutely. Good. Well, I am a little more optimistic after talking to you. That's encouraging. I appreciate it. We've been speaking here with Jackie Kent. She's the Executive Vice President and Head of Product at Medidata. This is ACRP TV Spotlight on Advances in Clinical Trial Technology. Jackie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike.